Number 3. Nasradin had an old shed. It had no windows, so it was very dark, and it was full of old things. One day, Nasrudin went into this shed to get a ladder, but slipped on something and fell against a big garden fork. The fork hit him on the head and knocked him down. Then it fell on top of him and hit him hard on the left leg. The ends of the fork then went into his long beard. He fought with the fork fiercely, and at last threw it off him, jumped up, and ran out of the shed. He was very angry. He had an old sword under his bed, and he now ran and got this. Then he ran back to the shed, opened the door suddenly, and shouted in a terrible voice, "All right! Come out and fight, you and all the other folks in the world. I'm not afraid of you."
Number 16. Nasradin had a shed behind his house. It had no lights in it. One night he went out to the shed to get his ladder, and lost his ring there. He left the ladder, went out into the street, and began to look around. One of his friends saw him in the street outside his house and said to him, "Hello, Nasradin, what are you looking for?" "My ring," answered Nasradin. "It fell off my finger. It's a silver ring with a red stone in it." "Oh, yes," said his friend. "I remember it. I'll help you to look for it. Where did you lose it?" "In my shed." "But why don't you look for it there?" "Don't be stupid. It's quite dark in my shed, so how will I find my ring there? Here there's light from the lamps in the street."
Number 18. One morning, Nasrudin left his house with 6 donkeys to go to the market. After a time, he got tired and got on to one of them. He counted the donkeys, and there were only 5. So he got off and went to look for the 6th. He looked and looked, but didn't find it. So he went back to the donkeys and counted them again. This time there were 6, so he got on to one of them again, and they all started. After a few minutes, he counted the donkeys again, and again there were only 5. While he was counting again, a friend of his passed, and Nasradin said to him, "I left my house with 6 donkeys. Then I had 5. Then I had 6 again, and now I have only 5. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. "But Nasradin," said his friend, "you are sitting on a donkey too. That is the 6th, and you are the 7th.
Number 19. One of Nasruddin's friends loved money very much, and never gave anything to anybody. Soon he became rich. One day he was walking near the river with his friends when he slipped and fell in. His friends ran to help him, and one of them knelt on the ground, held out his hand, and said, "Give me your hand, and I'll pull you out." The rich man's head went under the water, and then came up again, but he didn't give his friend his hand. Again another of his friends tried, but again the same thing happened. Then Nasruddin said, "Take my hand, and I'll pull you out." The rich man took his hand, and Nasruddin pulled him out of the water. "You don't know our friend very well," he said to the others. "When you say, 'give' to him, he does nothing. But when you say, 'take,' he takes."
Number 20. One day, Nasradin bought a donkey in the market. But while he was taking it home, 2 thieves followed him. One of them took the rope from the donkey's neck and tied it round his friend's neck. Then he went away with the donkey. When Nasruddin got home, he turned and saw the young man. He was very surprised. "Where's my donkey?" he said angrily. "I'm very sorry," said the thief, "but once I said some very bad things to my mother, and she changed me into a donkey. But because a good man bought me, I'm now a man again. Thank you." Nasruddin untied the man and said, "Go, and never say bad things to your mother again." The next day, Nasruddin saw the same donkey in the market again. The other thief was selling it. Nasruddin went to it and said into its ear, "Young man, some people will never learn."
Number 21. Nasradin wanted to buy some new clothes, so he went to a shop. First he asked for some trousers and put them on. But then he took them off and gave them back to the shopkeeper and said, "No, give me a coat instead of these." The man gave him a coat and said, "This one costs the same as the trousers." Nasradin took the coat and walked out of the shop with it. The shopkeeper ran after him and said, "You have not paid for that coat." "But I gave you the trousers for the coat," said Nasradin. "They cost the same as the coat, didn't they?" "Yes," said the shopkeeper, "but you didn't pay for the trousers either." "Of course I didn't," answered Nasradin. "I didn't take them. I'm not stupid. Nobody gives things back and then pays for them."
Number 22. One day, the boys of Nasruddin's village said to him, "You have a nice fat sheep. Will you invite us to a party to eat it with you?" Nasruddin did not want the boys to eat his sheep, so he said, "It's not fat enough yet." "But have you not heard?" they said. "The world is going to end tomorrow, so the sheep will never get fat." Nasruddin was getting tired of this, so he said, "All right, boys, we will have a picnic tomorrow and eat the sheep." So the next morning they all went to the river. The boys took off their clothes and jumped into the water, and Nasruddin killed the sheep. When the boys came out, their clothes were not there. "Where are our clothes, Nasruddin?" they asked. "Oh," he answered, "I made the fire to cook the sheep with your clothes. You will not need them again. The world is going to end today. Don't you remember?"
Number 23. Whenever it rained, water came through Nasruddin's roof. So one day he got his ladder, climbed up onto the roof, and began to mend it. It was quite difficult and dangerous work. While he was up there, he suddenly saw an old man in the street. This man was waving to him. He wanted Nasruddin to come down. Nasruddin thought, "What has happened? What news has this man got for me?" So he climbed down the ladder quickly. Several times he slipped and nearly broke his neck. When he got to the bottom, the old man said, "I'm a poor man. Please give me some money." Nasruddin was very angry, but he said, "Come up." He helped the old man to climb up the ladder and onto the roof. Then he said to him, "I am a poor man too. I have no money for you. And now go down alone. I will not help you."
Number 29. One day Nasradin went to a big dinner party. He was wearing old clothes, and when he came in, nobody looked at him, and nobody gave him a seat at a table. So Nasradin went home, put on his best clothes, and then went back to the party. The host at once got up and came to meet him. He took him to the best table, gave him a good seat, and offered him the best dishes. Nasradin put his coat in the food and said, "Eat, coat." The other guests were very surprised and said, "What are you doing?" Nasradin answered, "I was inviting my coat to eat. When I was wearing my old clothes, nobody looked at me or offered me food or drink. Then I went home and came back in these clothes, and you gave me the best food and drink. So you gave me these things for my clothes, not for myself."
Number 30. Nasruddin wanted a big pot for a party, so he borrowed one from a neighbour. After the party, he took it back with another small pot inside. "Your pot had a baby while it was with us," he said. Of course the neighbour was very pleased, and when Nasruddin came to borrow the big pot again for another party, he lent it to him very gladly. This time, Nasruddin did not bring the pot back, so after a few days the man went to Nasruddin's house. "What has happened to my big pot?" he asked. "Why haven't you brought it back yet?" "Oh, the big pot," said Nasruddin. "It died while it was with us." "Died?" said the neighbour angrily. "But pots do not die." "Why do you say that?" answered Nasruddin. "When I said the pot has had a baby, you did not say pots do not have babies, did you?"
Number 31. One day, Nasruddin's donkey was ill, so he borrowed a horse from an officer. It was a big, strong animal, and usually nobody rode it except the officer. It tried to throw Nasruddin off, but he stayed on it. Then it suddenly began to run away with him. He tried to turn it towards his house, and he tried to stop it, but it continued to run the opposite way. One of Nasruddin's friends was working in his field and saw him riding very fast towards this friend's house. He thought, "Why is Nasruddin riding so fast? Perhaps he has some bad news. Perhaps he's riding to my house to give me some bad news." He was frightened and shouted to Nasruddin, "Nasruddin, Nasruddin, what is the matter? Where are you going?" "I don't know," Nasruddin shouted back. "This stupid animal hasn't told me."
Number 32. Every Saturday, Nasruddin went to the market to buy food and other things. He put them in a big basket, but he was old and weak, so he always paid another man to carry the basket home for him. But one Saturday, while he was walking home in front of the man with the basket, the man ran away with it. The next Saturday, when Nasruddin went to the market again, a friend of his said, "Look, there he is. That man stole your things last week." Nasruddin at once hid behind a shop and stayed there until the man left the market. His friend was very surprised. "Why did you do that?" he asked. "Well," said Nasruddin, "that man was carrying my basket when he left me a week ago. He'll want me to pay him for 7 days' work, and that will cost me more than a basket full of things."
Number 33. Once, when Nasruddin was a boy, his mother went out for a picnic. Before she went, she said to him, "Nasruddin, while I'm away, stay near the door and watch it all the time." She said this because there were a lot of thieves in their town. Nasruddin sat down beside the door. After an hour, one of his uncles came. He said to Nasruddin, "Where's your mother?" "At a picnic," he answered. "Well," said the uncle, "we're going to visit your house this evening. Go and tell her." His uncle then went away, and Nasradin began to think. Mother said, "Watch the door all the time," he thought. And uncle said, "Go and tell her." He thought and thought. Then at last he pulled the door down, put it on his back, and went to his mother with it.
Number 34. Nasruddin was sitting by a window in his house one day in the middle of winter, when he heard women outside crying. He put his head out of the window and saw a lot of people coming towards his house. They were carrying a dead man, and the women were crying, "Oh, why are you leaving us to go to a place without light and without a fire and without food? It will be dark there, and you will be cold and hungry. Nobody will look after you, nobody will be kind to you, and nobody will love you there." "My God," said Nasradin to his wife, "they are talking about our house. They are bringing the dead man here. Quick, lock the door. Don't let him in."
Number 35. One day, when Nasruddin was travelling, he came to a village. The people there said to him, "We've had no rain for 3 months, and we have no water. Our corn is dying. Please help us. Pray for rain." Nasruddin wanted to help these poor people, so he asked for a bucket of water. There was very little water in the village, but each family gave a little, and they filled a bucket and gave it to Nasruddin. Then Nasruddin took off his shirt and began to wash it. The people were surprised and angry. "That water was for our children to drink, and you're washing your shirt in it." But Nasruddin said, "Wait." He hung the shirt up to dry, and at once it began to rain. "I have only one shirt," he said to the surprised people, "and when I wash it and hang it up to dry, it always rains."
Number 37. Nasradin liked fish very much, and when he had enough money, he bought some for his dinner when he went to the market and took it home. But when his wife saw the fish, she always said to herself, "Good, now I will invite my friends to lunch, and we will eat this fish. They like fish very much." So when Nasradin came home in the evening after his work, the fish was never there, and his wife always said, "Oh, your cat ate it. She's a very bad animal." And she gave Nasradin soup and rice for his dinner. But one evening when this happened, Nasradin became very angry. He took the cat and his wife to the shop near his house and weighed the cat carefully. Then he turned to his wife and said, "My fish weighed 3 pounds. This cat weighs 3 pounds too. My fish is here, you say. Then where is my cat?"
Number 38. One day, when Nasruddin was having a bath, he began to sing. The bathroom was small and had a stone floor, so his song was very beautiful, he thought. "Oh," he said, "I sing very well. I will sing to other people too, and perhaps I will become a famous singer, and everybody in the world will want to hear me." So after his bath, Nasruddin went up onto the flat roof of the house and began to sing his song very loudly. But he did not like it very much when he sang it there. A man was walking across the square in front of the house, and when he heard Nasruddin, he said, "What are you doing? You are making a terrible noise. Nobody wants to hear it." "Oh, you think so, do you?" answered Nasruddin. "Well, I really sing very beautifully. Come to my bathroom and you will hear me."